The summer sun blazed high in the sky as Ethan, Claire, and Jake piled into Ethan's aging Volkswagen van, eager for their long-awaited road trip. Their plan was simple: drive cross-country, explore hidden gems, and make unforgettable memories. The road stretched before them like an open invitation to adventure. The first few days were perfect. They swam in crystal-clear lakes, camped under starry skies, and laughed until their sides hurt. But as they crossed into the remote heart of Arizona, their trip took an unexpected turn. A thick storm loomed on the horizon, the kind that painted the sky in ominous shades of gray. As rain lashed against the windshield, the van sputtered, coughed, and died, right in the middle of an empty stretch of highway. Ethan twisted the key in the ignition repeatedly, but the engine refused to cooperate. "No service," Claire said, holding up her phone. Jake climbed out and lifted the hood, only to scratch his head in confusion. None of them were mechanics, and the nearest town was miles away. With little choice, they grabbed their rain jackets and began walking towards what looked like a small gas station in the distance. As they trudged through the downpour, lightning illuminated a faded sign: "Last Chance Gas, 5 miles ahead." By the time they reached the station, they were drenched. The place looked abandoned. Its neon sign flickered weakly, and the single pump was covered in rust. A dusty old sedan sat near the side of the building, but there were no signs of life. Claire hesitated before pushing the door open. A bell jingled, and the scent of aged wood and motor oil greeted them. An elderly man emerged from behind the counter, his eyes sharp despite his weathered face. "Stranded, huh?" he asked, in a voice like dry leaves rustling. "Yeah, our van broke down a few miles back," Ethan explained. "You wouldn't happen to have a tow truck, would you?" The old man chuckled. "Not out here, but I can call someone. Might take a while, though." As they waited, the man, who introduced himself as Earl, offered them old blankets to dry off. He regaled them with stories of the road, of travelers who had passed through this isolated stretch over the decades. Some of his tales were entertaining, others unsettling. One in particular caught their attention. "You ever hear about the Lost Highway?" Earl asked, lowering his voice. "They say there's a road just past these hills that don't show up on no map. Folks who take it disappear. Poof. Some say it's a time slip. Others think it leads to somewhere different." Jake scoffed. "Sounds like a campfire story." Earl just smirked. "Believe what you want." A few hours passed before a tow truck arrived. The driver, a burly man named Tom, hitched up their van and promised to get it running again at a shop in the next town over. Relieved, they rode with him through the darkened roads. But as they rounded a bend, the headlights caught something unexpected. A road branching off into the hills, one that hadn't been there before. Ethan felt a chill creep up his spine. "Guys, that road wasn't on the GPS." Claire's eyes widened. "Could it be?" Tom glanced at it, his face suddenly serious. "Ain't no reason to go that way." He pressed harder on the gas, As they drove past, Claire swore she saw shadowy figures watching them from the roadside. Figures that weren't quite human. She blinked, and they were gone. The next morning, Tom's shop was a welcome sight. He and his team worked on the van while the trio explored the small town. It was one of those places that seemed frozen in time. Antique shops, a diner with checkered floors, and a tiny general store selling postcards of the desert. They grabbed breakfast at the diner, where an elderly waitress overheard them talking about the strange road. Her face paled, and she leaned in close. "Y'all didn't go down it, did you?" Ethan shook his head. "No. But what happens if you do?" The woman glanced around before whispering. "Some folks say it takes you back in time. Others say you see things that shouldn't exist. People go down that road and never come back the same. If they come back at all." A heavy silence settled between them. Jake laughed nervously. "Well, good thing we didn't take it." After a few more hours, their van was fixed and they were back on the road. But an eerie feeling lingered. As they passed the stretch where the mysterious road had appeared, it was gone. No turn off, no sign of a path leading into the hills. Determined to put it behind them, they pressed on, but the unease never quite faded. That night, as they camped in a remote canyon, the wind howled through the rocks like a whispering voice. Claire woke with a start, convinced she heard footsteps outside their tent. When she peeked out, nothing was there, just the vast emptiness of the desert. The next morning, she found something that made her stomach drop. In the sand, just outside their tent, were footprints that didn't belong to any of them. They were too large, too deep, and they led off into the distance, toward the direction of the lost highway. "Guys," she called, her voice shaking. "We need to leave. Now." No one argued. They packed up hastily and drove until they reached the safety of a busy town. None of them spoke about what they had seen, but each of them knew. Something had followed them from that place. Even years later, when they gathered to reminisce, they all agreed on one thing. Some roads are better left untraveled, and some stories, they may be more than just legends.